So when you say you were struggling, what did that look like?
There was some skipping class a couple of times, trying to like leave campus, getting caught, behavioral things, just a mess. Especially when I moved, I would say as a teenager, I was pretty angry. I had like some moments of anger that was kind of just like, hey, it's my life. This is how my life turned out. So I can do what I want and no one can stop me.
Welcome to the Elevated Hope Project, a podcast dedicated to celebrating stories of resilience, transformation, and second chances. This podcast is proudly sponsored by Elevated Education, an organization that serves at-risk students through innovative schools like East Point High School, Elevated Academy, and Accelerated Learning Center. At Elevated Education, we believe in the power of education to change lives and create hope where it's needed most. Today, I'm honored to share the incredible journey of Ariel Harlow. As our first staff interview and someone who was helped by one of our schools, Ariel's story is a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the impact of a supported community. Let's dive in. Ariel, thank you for being with us.
Hello.
All right. So, one of the traditions we like to do here on this podcast is we ask our guests, what's one thing that you're grateful for right now?
I would say one thing that I'm grateful for right now is the weather. Right now, it's like the perfect weather to have a picnic or go to the park.
Yeah.
You can actually be outside in Arizona.
Yeah.
Not be miserable. So
yeah, this is why we live here, is this time of year. We whine and cry when it comes June and July and August, but this time of year makes up for it. So, okay. One of the other traditions we have is we like to give our guests a gift. So this is just a small gift. It's a journal for you to journal your thoughts or your gratitude or anything else that you may be thinking of, and just some nice pens. So here's a little gift.
some good pens. Thank you.
They're so pretty.
Guys,
Yeah.
I appreciate this.
Oh, these are really nice.
I'm glad you like those.
Want me to hold those for you?
I know. I was gonna.
thought I'd
If she
check.
didn't like them, I was gonna ask if I can have them.
I knew
I
she'd
have
like those.
pens at my desk, and I'm like, whenever the students are like, can I borrow one? I'm like, those are my special pens, so make sure that one takes it back.
Yeah,
Yep.
I get it. Cool. Well, we are really excited for you to be here. You're our first staff member to interview, and I think it's appropriate because ultimately, in terms of education, you're a product of one of our schools, and you have an incredible story to tell of just resilience and putting in the work and showing up every day. And we are just thankful that you're now part of our team because you've walked in those shoes of the students that we're supporting, and you do it so well. And so we're thankful for you and everything that you pour out each and every day. So
I think another thing to point out is our first staff member to get interviewed, but also she was Elevated Education employee number 1 when we launched the Elevated Teen Program.
that is true.
Wow. Did you even know that?
I think I did know
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I think that was our ongoing, like,
Well, I think for a while you were the only one sitting in
Yeah,
the office.
I
So
yeah.
as we were launching the program.
Show on the road.
Yeah.
You're QB1.
So,
Yeah. QB1.
I love it. All right. So we're going to start by just having you walk us through your life up until the point that you enrolled in our school. So just give us your life story, and we'll ask questions as we go.
Okay. Where do I begin? Okay, so I was originally born in Orlando, Florida, and then I ended up having 4 younger siblings, and we all grew up there with our mom and our granddad. Our granddad was our primary caretaker, so up until I was about 12 or 13, he took care of us, and life was good then, typical life. And then I would say once he passed away when I was about 13, that's kind of when life changed. So things changed as far as living environment. More pressure was put on to our mom at that time, and there was 5 of us, and it was just her. So family dynamic changed there. She struggled with some things as well. So I would say around when I turned 15, that's when I ended up coming here to Arizona. And my siblings stayed behind in Florida. They were all adopted by a different family, but they all stayed together. So those 4 got to stay together. They got adopted into a really good family. And they kind of lived their life out there. I moved here with my biological grandmother at the time, who also faced similar issues as my mom. So that was that for a little bit. And then I ended up being adopted. So yeah, I don't know if I should pause there.
The family that adopted you, did you know them at all, or was it like a private adoption? How did that work?
So the family who adopted me, I actually went to high school. I went to McClintock High School at first, and I met a girl there, and her name's Camille. And we became like really good friends. And I was kind of struggling at home with just some things with my grandma. And so kind of like her house became like my second home, to where I would spend a lot of my time there. And her mom's like, are you gonna go home? And I'm like, no, I think I like it here better, actually. So that kind of became my second home. Not on the record. It was kind of just like I was always spending the night there. We were literally inseparable. We spent all of our time together before school, after school, in school. And then after a while, she was like, let's try to get you back with your grandmother. Like, let's try to, and she didn't really understand all of the struggles that were happening there. So her and my grandmother like ended up meeting, having conversations together. So she kind of got more of an inside look to what that was and what that reality was for me. And then she was just like, let's make this official. And so she started doing all the classes that she needed to take, and basically getting all the state requirements to, adopt me officially.
Okay.
So,
wow, what a blessing.
Yeah, definitely. And that process took I'd say about a year. And throughout that time, I was going to McClintock, but I was definitely struggling. Just at home stuff and being in a really big environment. McClintock's a pretty big school. There's a lot of kids there. And moving from Florida and starting high school in Florida and then coming here, not knowing anybody. And I had Camille, but I just had a very introverted personality. So it was really hard for me to kind of adjust at first.
So when you say you were struggling at McClintock, what did that look like, or what was happening? Falling behind, failing classes, skipping class?
It's like, this is where I'll embarrass myself. No judging. We listen and we don't
there
judge.
Trust me, there is no judgment.
So yeah, there was some skipping class, a couple of times trying to like leave campus during school hours, getting caught, behavioral things, just a mess, just doing a lot of things. Academically, I always had an interest in school, but it was just like socially, I just could never get a grip on things, especially when I moved. I would say as a teenager, I was pretty angry. I had like some moments of anger that was kind of just like, hey, it's my life. This is how my life turned out. So I can do what I want and no one can stop me. So, and that kind of led to, my grades dropping, not wanting to attend, kind of like the whole mindset of like, why do I have to go to school? It's just a requirement. It's not going to do anything for me. It's just something I have to check off of a box, basically.
Yeah.
Instead of actually thinking of the value of what education could actually bring to me. So.
Yeah.
So did you ever get to the point where you just stopped going completely and dropped out?
No, because so me and Camille, we basically became like partners in crime. And her mom wasn't going to allow that. So basically it was more so of like, we have to do something. We have to intervene, like have an intervention to where you guys get back on track, but it's obviously not going to happen this way. So I never fully dropped out. I always held on by a thread.
Yep.
Mentally, I was probably dropped out, but
Yeah.
physically, I'd be there maybe like once a week.
Yeah.
So, and that's when we found the school.
Okay, so both of you enrolled then.
Yeah, we both enrolled together at the same time. We also had some disciplinary things that happened as well that led to us, our mom meeting with Nate and getting us started there, as well as our grandma, which is, our grandma on Camille's side of the family. So they met with Nate, connected with him, and then they're kind of like, hey, well, this is where you guys are going to try it out. So hope you guys are ready to, if this doesn't work, this better work type of thing.
Do you remember how you felt about that transition at the time? Were you excited about it or still kind of rebelling?
To try to remember, I know I was just really in a rebellious type of mood about a lot of things, and it was farther. So it was almost at first, almost like a kind of a punishment. At the same time, it was like, well, now you don't get rides to school. You're going to take the bus to school. So, and you need to be there every day. So it was kind of like slightly a punishment. So it was a little bit of pushback of like, well, now I'm really not going to make it to school because I could barely make it when you were dropping me off. And now I'm expected to take a bus an hour and make it.
That was the city bus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Independently, I'm supposed to make it to the city bus an hour ride. So at first there was some pushback, and it was definitely like, well, now we have even more freedom to not do it. So.
And did you do it?
I would say attendance was kind of rough at first, but I also worked. So like as soon as I turned 16, like my thing for my 16th birthday was like, oh my goodness, I get to have a job. Which is like, now I'm an adult and I'm like, why would I ever think that?
Oh, you wanted your own.
So
you
I was
wanted your
like,
own
I
money.
can make money. I can buy whatever I want. I can save up for a car. I can do all these things. So I really worked a lot. So that was kind of another thing I used as my crutch. It's like, oh, well, I can't make it to school because I'm working these hours. And I kind of started to try to put my minimum wage hourly job over school.
Well, did you think you were already living your future? That you were starting it, that was it, and that's what you'd be doing?
Yeah, I kind of took it as like, as long as I can make money, that's all I need. So as long as I have money. And at that time, when you're a kid, you think, $500 is a lot to you. And you don't really know the value of money and how bills work and stuff like that. So.
And what was that first job?
My first job was at McDonald's.
Okay.
Actually, right. I think like 2 weeks after my 16th birthday, I was so happy. Like I got my interview. I'm like, yes, I'm going to work at McDonald's. And McDonald's did not last long. When I actually started working, I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't work at McDonald's. And then I moved to Chick-fil-A. I love Chick-fil-A.
Yeah. I've heard that's a good place to work.
Yeah. That was probably one of my favorite jobs before this one.
Of course. Obviously. Yeah.
But if it doesn't work out here,
If it doesn't work
you
out
might
here,
go back to
I'm calling
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A.
So you get enrolled at the school. Attendance is a little rough and sparse at first, but at some point you had to have locked in, right, and started putting in the work that you needed to put in to get caught up from the classes that you've failed in the past, and then get to the finish line of graduation. Where was that turning point for you?
So I would say Mr. Scott, Nate, he played a big role in trying to pull me back in. There wasn't a day that if I didn't show up, he wouldn't call. He was very invested in. And I had this thing where I was like, I'm going to graduate on this date with my class. And I was set on that, but I wasn't showing up. So he's like, what you're saying, is it matching up with what you're doing?
Yeah.
So if you want to do this, you need to mean what you say and say what you mean. And so he would call me from any number, any line, anytime, and be like, get in here or you're not going to make it. So then I think I want to say like a couple, maybe like 6 months before graduation, I just started coming in every single day from like doors open to doors closed. And I was just like quiet, sat in the corner, head in the books, just
Getting it done.
yeah. So.
Good. Yeah. Is it that personal relationship you had with Mr. Scott, that really motivated you to show up? You knew that he was going to be constantly pursuing, and one of our previous guests said that you could never get Mr. Scott off your phone. Like he was just after it all the time. I mean, is that what really motivated you to move forward?
Yeah, it was a motivational fear. It's like, oh goodness, like he's angry. So, but it was definitely a motivation. It was also knowing that, like, you know, he cared enough to always make that step. And he did show a lot of, you know, care in his own way, of trying to motivate and trying to, you know, you say you want this, and if you really want it, you have to go after it. All I can do is assist. I can't do it for you. But he did do a lot of things. Like if I was like, oh, it's transportation. He's like, well, we got bus passes. What do you need? Anything you need, we'll supply that for you, you know?
Yeah.
And I really did struggle with math, and math was like one of the last things I had to do. So it was shaky at the end as well, because I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this math. But then it was still that motivation of like, okay, well, you can work with a teacher one-on-one. You don't need to sit in your corner and put your headphones on and just keep failing your tests. You can actually ask for help. And after a while, they kind of knew that I needed help. So sometimes I didn't even have to ask. It was more so of, hey, I know you're going to need help, and I know you're probably not going to want to ask me. So I'm here. And it was a lot of comfort in the classroom. And I didn't feel the same when I went to public school. I felt more so of like, oh, this is just a big group of kids. We're all here to do the same thing. I'm not really getting any personal type of connection here that I did feel when I moved to a smaller school, and the environment was just a little bit more personal.
So obviously you were making connections with Mr. Scott because he was in constant pursuit of you to get you in there. Were there other adults that you were making connection with? I mean, because that can be somewhat intimidating to all of a sudden all you have is math to complete, and it's kind of on you to finish, but you have an adult that's identifying that you need help and helping you. Are you making connections with that person or other teachers and adults in the school?
Yes. So Mr. Scott wasn't necessarily in the classroom. The person in the classroom was Mr. Red, along with Mr. Grissom, and they were the ones who would help me more in the classroom. And there was a female teacher. Her name is not coming to me, but she was also a really big help as well in the classroom. And it was really just an environment of like everyone was trying to help each other out, and everyone was looking out for your best interest. And the way they kind of tricked me was
Tricked you?
tricked me into learning. They would open up, other activities as well, to where we would go and like go on walks or go do workouts or go play in the gym, and do stuff like that. And that really also made me feel like more of a personal connection, because it's like, oh, we get to go and we get to work out. We get to, move our bodies. And that was something that I really liked to do back then. So it was a lot of like, it was a effort from everyone. And it was a constant effort, because I do feel that I was a tough cookie.
So you were getting close to the end of your high school diploma and getting through the math class. What sounds like it was your last hurdle. So could you picture graduation and what would happen after graduation then? Like, when did you start picturing what was next for you?
So in the process of being adopted, you get assigned like a caseworker. And I had this really amazing caseworker who was always like, you can go to college and a lot of your college can be funded. Like, you need to do this. You have to do this. And I would just be like, I don't know. I'll do it. But I was so money driven and just, I wanted to work. So it started lightening up around the time I was like 17 years old, is when she really started to put it in my head. Like, you get all this funding, like I can help you fill out the information, and stuff like that. And at that time, like I still had a lot of self-doubt, but I still wanted to do it. It was more so I was on the fence of like, but I want to make money. I don't know where in my mind I thought I'd make more money at McDonald's and Chick-fil-A. But yeah, she did a big favor to me by always keeping it in my head and in my ear. Like every week when she saw me, she's like, so college, right? Like you're going to do this. And then eventually I was like, okay, you know what? I am going to do this. And then that's when I decided that I was interested in going to Arizona State University. So
Very cool.
yeah.
So before we keep progressing through your story, you're in a role now where, with our organization, where you have the opportunity to have the same type of impact on a student's life that, Mr. Scott and Mr. Grissom and your caseworker had. How does that inform how you approach your role at within the organization?
I would say that I always keep a lot of empathy when it comes to the students, because I can put myself into the shoes of, you just want to work. I can get that. I can see that. It doesn't make sense now that I'm an adult, but when I was your age, it did make sense. So I can take myself to the mindset of like, I see how this may make sense to you. And I try to just really dive deep into how I felt and the things that I needed to hear someone say to me when I'm discussing with the students. Like, well, look, you can do this and it can go this way, or you could do this and it could go that way. So I try to really use a lot of empathy and as well as compassion when I hear excuses. So I have a lot of patience when it comes to that. And when I work with them, I do the same things as far as like trying to make it more personal. Let's get out of the classroom. Let's go play games. Let's go to the gym. Let me see you when you're more in your state of play instead of seeing you always in a state of like, you need to do work. And when I do that, that's when I realize with the students, I create an actual bond to where it's like they trust me more and my word means more to them than if we're just sitting in the classroom all day.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
All right. So we'll jump back to the story. So you put in the work, you finish those math classes, and it's time for graduation, right? You've reached that milestone of having that diploma in your hand. What did that feel like?
I was super happy, and I still got to graduate with my class, which was like one of my biggest goals. Was like, if I don't graduate with my class, I don't want to do this. So when I did it, I was really happy. I was really proud. And I was also slightly in a disbelief of like, I did make it with my class. And that day was a good day.
Yeah.
Had a lot of fun that day.
Yeah. And in that moment, did you have a vision yet of what your future would look like?
So I did have in mind that I was going to go to Arizona State University.
Okay.
But I still had in mind that I wanted to make money.
Yep.
So at this time, I was working at Quick Trip, and I was like, I'm going to take a gap year, and I'm going to make money. And I was like, and I'm going to go back. I'm going to do it. And I remember Nate was like, no, don't take a gap year. Just go straight into it. If you don't go straight into it, you're going to be less likely to go back. I was like, but I just want to make money. Like, I want to live my life. And he's like, you've been making money for years. Just, do something for your future. But I always told him, I was like, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to graduate. I'm going to call you when I do. And, when you have a job open for me, you let me know. So I did my gap year. I worked at QT for a year. And then that next fall semester, I enrolled at Arizona State University. And that's when I began going there a year after graduating from high school.
Great. And you enrolled full time?
Yep.
While you were still working?
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
yeah, I lived in the dorms, Taylor Place, downtown campus. And I still worked at QT at that time.
Okay.
So.
Great. And what was your degree program that you started in, and did you stay in that the whole time, or did you change it up?
Funny enough, I started in criminal justice.
Okay.
I thought that I wanted to be a detective. But then I went to college and I learned that you have to be a police officer before you become a detective. I don't know why I didn't probably think of that.
TV shows.
Yeah. SVU was my favorite show growing up. So,
Yeah.
like, I'm going to be like her one day. So when I got to college and reality set in of, this isn't probably what you really want to do. I switched my major to public service and social work. And that's what I stayed in for. After the first semester of college, I switched and I stayed for the remainder of college after that.
Okay. What was that college experience like for you? So you stayed in the dorms the first year, working full time, having a full time load at ASU. Was that difficult, or did you find it easy? What was that journey like?
I would say the first year there was challenges, but it was kind of more, I was in a space of like, wow, I made it. Like, I can actually do this. And then I started to mature a little bit more. I also got pregnant with my daughter my freshman year. So I kind of knew like, okay, now I have to get more serious. And I started to mature. I felt like I already grew up pretty fast, but I felt I had to mature faster to like, okay, you're not a kid anymore. You're about to have a child. So you really need to focus in on, what's going to be in her best interest in her life. So I'd say around my freshman years when I got more serious about stuff and I started to take it more serious. And it definitely was a challenge to where there was many times where I was like, I think I'm going to drop out. But I also knew there was a window of time that funding would end age-wise. And I already took a gap year. So I knew it was like, it's now or never. So I stuck it through. And I only lived in the dorms for the first year. And then after that, I lived on my own and just pursued the rest of my degree.
Okay.
What kept that motivation? Because obviously a significant life event, having a child when you're 19 years old, I'm guessing. What kept you motivated in going through? Because it sounds like you didn't skip a beat.
A lot of my motivation came from, one, always knowing that I wanted to make my granddad proud. He was probably the first and biggest inspiration in my life. And losing him at such a young age, I always knew, like, I'm going to make you proud. And then things in life happened where I was like, yeah, you're probably not too proud right now. So really knowing that I wanted to make him proud was one of my biggest motivators when it came to, like, giving up and knowing, like, if I give up, then, you taught me all these foundational things, yes, at a young age, but I still need to follow through with, the principles that you taught me. And try to return back to that, even though it may feel like it's really far away.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted to return to the gap year real quick. When you have students now who tell you that's their plan, what advice do you give them?
So I try not to be contradictive and say don't do it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I did it, so I don't want to tell you you can't do it. But I just let them know that, like, it is harder, I feel, once you get out of education to try to pull yourself back in, but it's also refreshing to kind of take a second to take a break, make money, go hang out, go do what you want to do. You don't feel responsible for, turning in assignments and doing stuff like that. So I try to keep it really honest with them and tell them what I did, but to also caution them that it is tempting to not go back.
Yeah.
And if you don't have someone kind of constantly reminding you what your plan is, you can stray away from, what your end goal is.
Yeah. Good advice.
All right. So you're at a point now in your last 3 years of college where you're working full time, you're going to school full time, and now you're a mom.
Oh my gosh, those times.
That's a lot.
Those are nightmares.
Yeah, that's a lot. Who helped you with your daughter at that time?
So a lot of support from her father and his family. They were a big support for us, as well as my family. My mom, she ended up moving to Texas. when Ava was like 2 or something like that. So then the rest of the family stepped in. One of my aunts really helped out a lot, as well as our grandmother helped out a lot. I had a lot of family support at that time. It was kind of like, whatever you need, just let us know. And we got you.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of are you sure you don't want to, take a break, let her grow up a little bit? And I was like, I got to do this now. Time is kind of against me right now, as far as funding goes and stuff like that. So they were like, hey, if you want to do this, we're willing to help you and assist in any way we can, as far as with Ava.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that just speaks to, number one, your resilience, right? That's a lot for a 19, 20-year-old to take on and not allow it to break you. Even though I'm sure there were days where you're like, I'm broken, right? I just need this to stop. But then also the power of like a supportive community, right? It wouldn't have probably even been possible without the support of, your family and your community being willing to step in and say, whatever you need, we've got you, right? And, imagine if you don't have that support and your daughter's sick one day, right? Which is what happens all the time. And then you can't go to work, you can't go to school, you can't do all those things. And with family, it's a little easier to navigate those things. So I'm sure you're incredibly grateful for those people, especially at that point in your life, which I'm guessing they're probably still very supportive today.
Yes, for the most part.
Yeah.
We don't have to go into all those stories.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I get it. Cool. All right. So, you get through college and you're starting to think, okay, like I have this social work degree. What am I going to do with it? Talk us through that process and kind of what your aim was at that point.
So there's a program in Arizona State University where if you are in the social work major and you want to go for your master's, they'll pay for your master's, but you have to work for DES. And you basically have to be a caseworker there for 2 years in your degree and then sign a 2-year contract after. But while I was in my senior year of college, there was a couple of students who were already in that program, and they would tell the class their stories. And it was like, I was like, I don't know if I want to go into that field of social work, because social work is such a big spectrum. You can work in hospitals. You can basically work in any system as a social worker. And I didn't really want to do the home visit type of, that wasn't my field of what I was interested in, but I was like, I do want to go get my master's. So again, I was like, I'm going to take a gap year and I'm going to think about it while I'm just letting things settle before I apply for the program for them to pay for my master's and work in the social work. I can't think of the name, like caseworker field with them. And then so I just took a job at home doing medical records. So it had really nothing to do with my major, but I was like, hey, it's going to get me by for now. So that's when I started working there. I was doing medical records at home. So I got to be with Ava for a little bit, and she got to do her thing. And then that's when Mr. Scott calls me. He's like, hey, he's like, what's going on? What are you up to in life right now? I'm like, I'm doing medical records at home. Nothing too crazy. He's like, did you go to college? Like, what do you mean you're doing medical records at home? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you know what? Send me over your resume. And I was like, okay. Hung up. Did not send over my resume. And then the next day he calls me again. And he's like, hey, are you going to send it? Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, this is so the same conversation.
You should have known already.
I know. He's like, he's not going to give up on this. So I was like, okay, hang up. Sent my resume. And then, yeah, that's when I found you guys.
Is that the first time you had talked to him since you graduated undergrad? Because did you make that phone call when you got that diploma and say, hey?
When I first graduated, I did.
Yeah.
I like sent him some funny message and I'm like, hey, graduated, by the way. Like, so when you get that job, call me. And it was always more of like a bantering type of thing. But then it turned serious. So
He called when he had a job open.
yeah, he did. And I was like, oh, wow. What do you know? And we always stayed in contact here and there throughout. But it was never like big news. It was like, hey, I graduated. Ha ha ha. Hire me one day. Thanks.
Yeah.
So.
And it worked out.
Yeah, it did. Ironically enough. So.
Yeah. What an incredible story of, overcoming some really hard things as you're younger and having to push through high school, and then having another set of really hard things to push through to graduate college, and, finding those open doors and navigating that and pivoting when you needed to pivot to get into the program at ASU and find the funding that you needed and arranging the support that you needed to help with your daughter while you're at work and school. And I think that that's such an incredible story, and for people to really find inspiration in that, right? Because I'm sure there were plenty of hard days, and you couldn't have made it through if you didn't just keep putting in the work every day, one foot in front of the other. And, you can look in the past now and smile about all of it, and probably find lots of things through that whole experience that you're incredibly grateful for now, that maybe you wouldn't even change, right? Because they've made you who you are today. And, now you're in a position because of that journey that, you're able to make a huge impact on kids that were in your same shoes not that long ago, which I think is a beautiful thing. And we're glad to have you on our team.
Thank you. I am glad to be here. I think, and I'm like, if I would have gone to do what I thought I was going to do, I don't know. I think that I'm happy that I ended up here in its unique own way of how this even all got started and how the last 3 years of the journey has been. I just don't think I could imagine something else for myself. So definitely happy to be here.
I'm sure you use your social work training too on the job.
Because I honestly think a lot of it does have to relate to the degree. I think a lot of the social and emotional side of our students, having that does give me an upper hand in some circumstances with them, that I feel that maybe if I didn't have my degree in what I have, I may not have as much as a full understanding as I do having my social work degree.
And compounding, just knowing what the students are going through because you had lived it.
Yeah.
That probably helps quite a bit.
Yeah. The personal part is what comes naturally.
Yeah.
And then the educational part kind of helps me put more principle to what I already know personally.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So you kind of fulfill two roles, right? One as a mentor and then a teacher as well. Which, is there one side of it that you like more than the other or kind of thrive in?
I definitely think I thrive in the mentoring side of it. I'm really interested in the social and emotional side. And I do think that those sides is what builds your educational success. Because without those, to think that education can be your priority, if your social and emotional health isn't where it needs to be, it's really hard to say that education will be, a student's priority.
Yeah.
I have a question. James mentioned just a minute ago how you have an incredible journey. Do you realize how incredible it is?
That's a good question. I would say, I don't know. A lot of the time, I feel like sometimes in life, I just go with the flow. And that sometimes I guess I can kind of undermine my journey because it's my reality. So I think that to me, it's just like, this is my life. Like, this is just the cards I was dealt. And so for me, like, I know that I transformed, and I know that it is a journey that I have grown in. But maybe sometimes I don't give myself all the credit that I may deserve. So,
Yeah. So I'm just kind of curious before we start wrapping up here. Your mom, your grandma, are those people still in your life, and are you connected with them?
I would say we're connected still. I feel like we always will be. There's just like, a point in life where, I'm kind of going on a different route, and things just don't align to be as close as we used to be, because I'm kind of taking my journey somewhere else. But I do know, the love will always be there and the support will always be there. If ever needed, it's more so from a distance.
Yeah.
Just due to, a difference in journeys and a difference in time between us.
Yeah.
To where things are a little distanced, but like I said, love and support will always be there. And if they ever need me, if I ever need them, I know that it's always an open door. Even if we may not be physically as close as we used to be, we're still definitely always going to be emotionally, there for each other.
Yeah. Good. All right. Last question for you. What's something that gives you hope right now?
Something that gives me hope is, I would say now, after having this conversation, thinking about my journey and my transformation, it does give me hope for the future. Because when I do think back to that little girl that I was, it's like there was no hope. There was no future. There was no journey. It was day to day. As long as I can make some money, go buy myself an outfit, go get fast food somewhere. That was my future, and that was my journey, and that was my hope. But knowing that, I am capable of doing things, and I am strong, and that whatever I set my mind to, that I do know that I can achieve those things, definitely gives me hope for the future.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would just encourage you to never minimize your strength. I don't know that there's much that can knock you down, right? Because you come right back up swinging. And I think that's an awesome part of your story. So it was an honor to hear your story. I have never heard all of that. And you should be hopeful for your future, because you are strong and you are incredibly bright. And you're always there to care for and serve whoever's around you, whether it's someone on your team or whether it's the students you're serving. And I'm sure that translates outside of work and into your life. And that effort and that care for people comes back tenfold. So thanks for being here.
And thank you guys for having me.
Yeah.
So grateful for you.
All right. So I'll just wrap this up with saying that Ariel's journey shows us what's possible when determination meets opportunity. It also highlights the mission of elevated education to serve as a bridge to hope and success for students through schools like East Point High School, Elevated Academy, and Accelerated Learning Center. Thank you again for being here and sharing your inspirational story with us. And thank you for our listeners for joining the Elevated Hope Project, where we celebrate stories that remind us all that with support, hope, perseverance, transformation is always possible. See you next time.